Welcome to the deleted scenes.
Director's mistakes.
Also known as the scenes that your dad screwed up, Kit. So we're going to see some of the things that, some of our misfires here.
My son, Kit.
This is Kit. He's guest directing.
Yeah.
This is,
I like this scene. This is,
oh, digging, yeah.
this is, this originally was meant to sit.
Originally, you even toyed with putting it at the end.
Yeah. It was meant to sit immediately before the traffic sequence or after. In other words, it would be the end of that journey that would reinforce Miller's frustration that the dig was getting nowhere. But this was just a scene that in the end, when you played it, you didn't need it. You'd got the point and you wanted to move on.
Right. And this is Mukbarat headquarters.
Headquarters of Saddam's secret police.
Yeah. This was our original introduction to Greg Kinnear's character. And also to the Zubaidi character.
Yeah.
But we got it much better with the helicopters and the...
Yeah. We were sort of trying to find a way of... It's that thing of... In thrillers, you always have the problem of pushing lots of people through a narrow doorway as quickly as possible at the beginning. And it's the mirror image reverse of the problem that you always have in a thriller of paying everybody off. And what happened was that it felt too crowded. It felt like we were trying to get too many characters in too quickly, and you weren't quite reading what they were doing. So the idea was this would be setting up Zubaidi and Poundstone looking for something in the files.
And we come up because Brendan Gleeson has told me to go here instead of... I've kind of called an audible and gone to this place instead of going where I was supposed to go, because I know there's nothing there where I'm supposed to go. And this is one of our first days, was our first day of filming.
It was, yeah. And that scaffolding you saw in that previous shot, that would have been a visual effects set extension piece. No, it would have been a big set extension piece.
Oh.
That's what the scaffolding
Oh, right,
would
that's
be,
right.
Yeah. It's a good scene, though. I like it. I mean, it.
Yeah, we shot that in Spain.
I think you were here, weren't you, Kit, for this? Do you think we should have put it in the movie?
Hold your fire. Now we know there's an American there.
Yeah. And Anthony, what a performance. Look, this one.
Yeah.
He was great. He balls you out.
What's going on, Chief Miller, Med Team Delta, sir. We're here to secure these files. These files have information.
Well, in fact, it was interesting. We lost our voices from yelling at each other in this first day of filming, and it was something that I did. I decided not only did I like the way it sounded, but I liked the idea of an American kind of losing his voice a little bit in the desert, so I would screw my voice up every morning by screaming into my, just in my trailer. I'd just scream until I was hoarse.
Really? I never knew that. I mean, I knew you used to cough to try and make it go, but I didn't realize you screamed out to us.
I realized finally that was the way to do it, like if you were at a concert all night.
Yeah. It worked, though, because it kind of
It comes across, yeah. It's just...
It made him sit in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I gotta pick up these files. Wilkins.
My singing career's over, but...
But, you know,
Hey, soldier.
I'm trying to make too many characters do too much in too short a time. You know, you and Miller and Poundstone are doing their thing. We got some narrative issues. Zabadi's there. Amy, Laurie Dane's there. And in the end, what we had to do was slow it down, have the airport scene, get them away, and make it a true B story before you collided. This was a scene that we had in and out, and it was basically designed to sit in the section when people were getting killed, when the hits were occurring, back end of the second act there. And it was a very nice sequence of a, car bomb explosion. And stuff like this was, you know, it was these kind of things that started to show the steady collapse of Iraq. You know, it was just a very, very dangerous place. There's nothing more frightening than a car bomb because it kind of comes out of nowhere. But it was a great... Obviously, that early piece where there's no flames, there would
Yeah, it
have
would have
been
been huge flames. Yeah.
Yeah, we would have done some visual effects augmentation there, but you obviously couldn't do that with stuntmen close.
No, of course.
And it was, you know, it was a nice physical piece of punctuation, but in the end, when you cut the film together, it didn't play. You know, you didn't need it. It didn't feel pace-wise.
This is returning Saeed's body,
Mm-hmm.
which something really great came out of this scene, and I really did love this scene. First of all, the actress who played the wife was great.
Yeah.
She was really, really great. And, but we talked about, well, why are we returning the body? We're returning it because he needs to be buried within 24 hours. And so it's like I'm doing a favor for the family, although they would see me as being responsible for his death. So I'm taking a risk by going there. And when I talked to Mani about it, what was great, what came out of it was, he said, you're just trying to gain any advantage you can. You know, you're in a war, and you need to explain to her that you're doing her a favor, and there's the way he looked at it versus the way I would have looked at it. It gave me so much insight. And so as a result, the scene is incredibly harsh.
Yeah.
You know, but in a way that I think is very real and really... When I sit down, you know, basically the reality is, you know, post-invasion Iraq is going to be a very bad place for her without her husband.
Yeah.
And I give her a chance to go to Jordan. But here's this woman getting the information that her husband's dead and now having to make a huge decision about the rest of her life that's going to impact her kids.
And letting slip a piece of information. Right.
So it was a really unique scene. So I really loved it, and also because we didn't know where it was going to go when we shot it. We're both very, very present, you know.
It's a classic example of what we were talking about on the main commentary, where this scene, the taking back of the body, was a scene that Brian originally wrote, Brian Helgeland wrote, because he loved the idea of putting Miller in this grotesque moral place, really, of taking back a body of when he had been responsible for dragging off the husband, but it wasn't at his instigation or doing that the man had been killed. And the truth is, as an idea for a scene, it was truly morally complex and a fantastic idea for a scene. And then you explored it, you know, and in the acting process, the scene then became, how do you take such a outlandish idea and marry it with the reality? And that's really what this scene is. And the three of you kind of found.
And then having Freddie in there, which nobody had thought. But suddenly, when you put Khaled in the middle of the scene, and all of his guilt, right? That's all tied up in the sectarian stuff. It's just, and, you know, but still, he left with the husband earlier in the day, and you know, is back.
Yeah.
So, and she's just great. And
what's interesting is, you know, there she is sitting in a house, in a house surrounded by her family pictures and her family china and some antiques, and all of which would have been the proceeds of growing fat under the Ba'athist regime. And so you feel that the morality is not on her side. It's a very, very good scene. I mean, in its own terms, and I'm really glad it's on the extra scene, because I think just as a scene, and I love the way the shoe drops for you at the end, and you really feel in the way you're playing it that you feel that you're out of your depth. There are things going on here that you've no perception of, and that's really our story. I mean, that's the story we told in Green Zone. But it's that thing of, you take a scene written by a writer, it's then played and discovered and reimagine, but through that same route. But then collectively, we all look at it in the context of our unfolding story and feel actually there's a different and clearer way to get to that same goal, and that's filmmaking. You know, it is at its core, and that's why I think for all of us who do it, it's mystery and its biggest thrill. It's collaborative. You know what I mean? No film is the product of one imagination or one person, but all good films are the product of collective engagement, I think.
Unquestionably.
And somewhere the test of your creative group is when you collectively can see that something that's really good like that scene has got to be rethought, backtracked and pushed on in a different way, and you still get to the same place by a different route, you know.
And it's also that I was talking to Soderbergh recently, and he was talking about an editor whose whole philosophy is story, scene, moment.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a great example of a scene, you know, with some wonderful moments in it, but, you know, we couldn't hold on to it, you know, and it's like you got to stay with story, and, you know, and that's that thing about making movies, particularly making movies like this, is a lot of times you end up with some really terrific stuff that can't go in the movie.
This is me showing that I can shoot entirely conventionally.
Yeah,
I did learn how to do that before I decided.
It almost looked like you had the camera on a dolly.
Do you know, I think I did.
Really?
Yep. I decided.
And
This is how I used to shoot in the old days. You know?
Really?
Yeah, I did. It's very beautifully lit too, if I may say, by Barry. And it was a scene about...
tonight. We're making an announcement.
It sort of deepened the conspiracy between Poundstone and Zabadi, but in the end, in the film, you didn't really need to know that much.
Right.
I told you we had a plan.
But I'm pleased it's on, because that's how I'm going to shoot from now on.
Is it?
What do you think?